Hello and welcome to Conversations Unlocked, the UniCredit podcast and your gateway to industry insights. I'm Matt Thomas.
And I'm Nikolina Zecic. In this series of Conversations Unlocked, we'll be learning how we unlock a better bank for tomorrow. Join us for expert insights and engaging discussions with colleagues about the most exciting developments shaping the future of UniCredit. And this time, we are setting sail with an episode dedicated to the 37th America's Cup. As you will know, UniCredit played a big role in this year's race by sponsoring the Youth America's Cup.
Yes, that's right. In today's episode, Nikolina will be speaking to Mac Dalton, head of sponsorship at the 37th America's Cup and son of Grant Dalton, the CEO of the competition, who we heard from in the first episode of this series. Nikolina will ask Mac about the lessons in teamwork that we can draw from the America's Cup and what makes UniCredit the ideal partner for this extraordinary international racing event.
And that's not all, Matt. Later on, in a special edition of the Culture Corner, we will hear from star performers, our branch managers from across UniCredit, who were invited to attend the America's Cup in Barcelona. We will hear why they think our partnership with the America's Cup is so valuable.
But before we dive into that, here are some internal news headlines from across the bank.
You know, Matt, Christmas is just around the corner and it's hard to believe, but we are all excited to celebrate our second edition of Kids for Kids and Donation Day in December. Christmas is all about giving and coming together, so we are inviting our colleagues and their children to all our offices around UniCredit to donate gifts for children in need and enjoy some holiday activities. Stay tuned for more updates, and we can't wait to see you all there.
Oh, how lovely. It's always one of the best events of the year. Thank you so much for those headlines, Nikolina. But now it's time to make some waves. Let's hear this episode's conversation with Mac Dalton.
Hi, Mac. So good to have you here with us today, and welcome to Conversations Unlocked.
Hey, Nikolina. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to join you today.
So let's start with a very simple question. The America's Cup has come to a close this year, and it was really exciting and intense. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, God, I mean, you get to the end of a journey like this one, and there's some mixed emotions. I think me and the team have talked the whole time about how would we feel when we get to the end. Another factor in the uniqueness of the competition is that as the organizing entity, America's Cup events, we're also tied to one team. In this case, it's Emirates Team New Zealand, the team that has won the America's Cup. So I think on that front, we're feeling a tremendous amount of relief and joy that they were able to defend successfully the America's Cup. And then obviously, as you touched on, I think the event has been a tremendous success. But then there's also the sadness. I mean, you grow so close to the people that you work with that it's a cliche, but you really do become a family. You do everything. It's such a long, intense event. So in some cases, a lot of these people you're not going to see for a long time or until the next project. So there's, as I say, a lot of mixed emotions, but I think really the one underpinning all of it and the strongest feeling is the joy of really winning and having an amazing event. So in that way, I think we're very content with where things are now.
Thank you, and congratulations one more time. And I really like the word family, but we are going to talk about the family and teamwork a bit later. But I want to focus now on preparations. So with such a prestigious event as America's Cup, I think preparations must be incredibly complex. Could you share some insights with us into the key challenges maybe your team faced during the planning stages? And also how you ensure the seamless experience for both competitors and the audience.
Yeah, I think preparation, that's an interesting one because we arrived in Barcelona in April of 2022. We were a very small team, America's Cup events. When we did get here, we grew to about half a dozen for probably the first few months. And really everyone was asking, so what are you doing? What needs to be done? And there's a massive amount of work behind the scenes that needs to go on, everything from permissions of where we race to educating the local population, especially in a city that hasn't hosted the America's Cup or maybe doesn't have a history of the America's Cup. That's been another challenge for us, really sort of bringing the event to the locals so that we're not just sailing a race on the shore that no one knows about. But then, I mean, from my scope and my role specifically, also, we started from really a tiny, tiny handful of sponsors. So we were finding new sponsors, having those negotiations, and then really adapting how the event looked in terms of the TV product, the physical layout, based on how those sponsors wanted to see the event unfold. And then you also rightly touch on the teams. I mean, there's also the 150 in each team wearing their different badges who come to compete for this event, so they can't be neglected as well. So I think when you consider everything, it becomes a massive operation. There's so many different factors. What's challenging for a sport like sailing in particular is that we're in a public zone. We're not in a controlled setting, so it's not like football where we have a field that you control everyone who comes in and out, and the TV product can be very specifically placed. I mean, we have the variables of being in a totally open public space. We're in the ocean. So I think that brings its own challenges, and dealing with administrations who admittedly have been fantastic to deal with for our duration of the time here. But I think there's many elements to it, and it all has to come together in perfect harmony to arrive at a finally successful event, which I think we have.
Yeah, I totally understand when you mentioned that massive amount of work behind the scene. Especially when we organize some big events in UniCredit, like, for example, our annual Culture Day. It is really a lot of stress, but also the excitement is here. So I understand. Totally. And I'm super happy that UniCredit is one of the sponsors and supporters. So talking about UniCredit and bankers, you know that we like numbers. So do you measure the success of the event like America's Cup? And if you do, how?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's multiple elements of how we need to measure things. The most immediate numbers we now have are the attendance. So again, going back to being in a public place, we've remained completely free of ticketing. So we've had our 3 big public zones. That's the 2 fan zones and a race village. So that's where fans can interact with the exhibitions of the teams, the sponsors, live performances. So there's lots of people passing through. So to collect the data on that, and the initial number we're getting is across, bear in mind, 3 months. So it's a lot of time, and it's a very busy area already of Barcelona, but over 2.5 million people have passed through our zones and interacted with the event in some way. So that's really our preliminary number. The others, which will come out, this next one probably being within the next week or so, social media impact of all our digital footprint. And then the final one, the one that I think in the case of sponsors and really people trying to calculate the global ROI, will be the audience numbers, the TV audience numbers, those who have consumed America's Cup content overall. And that is done through Nielsen, who I understand does the majority of global sporting events. But for me, that's a very big one. That's a very important one. If you could talk about numbers, I think we're equally interested in how the numbers break down and whether we've given a positive ROI, which I am beyond sure that we have. But those numbers come out in a couple of months. So I think we will be able to collect all of them together probably, I'm hoping by December.
Impressive. I believe UniCredit and America's Cup have really a lot in common, not just talking about the numbers. We have an interesting connection. Both banking and America's Cup racing demand a high level of strategic decision-making, and also cutting-edge technology plays a crucial role in both industries. And last but not least, teamwork is so important. You mentioned the word family, which I really, really, really like. Each member of the crew is important, and of course, each employee of the bank contributes to the overall success. Would you agree with me?
100%. I mean, even if you break down the roles of the various people on the team, for example, Emirates Team New Zealand is something like 140 full-time staff, and 40 of them are engineers and designers. So, the guys that stand up on the podium, they are the best at what they do, the sailors, that is. And there's 12 of them, 8 on the boat, 4 sort of switch in and out. So think of that, if the guys building the boat, 3 to 4 times as many as the guys who actually sail on the boat, and many of them you will never see. So I think the concept of teamwork and needing to do what's better for the greater good is present in every single team. I mean, it's the way they're structured. These guys sweat day in, day out to design the perfect boat, and many of them, you wouldn't hear about. So I think the team that wins the America's Cup has got to be such a tight unit, and such a group of individuals that has each other's backs and sort of wants what's best for the collective, as opposed to looking for personal glory, which I think Team New Zealand is a great example of the first thing I described.
Yes, I totally understand. And I couldn't agree more, because in UniCredit, we bring people together. We operate in 13 different markets. It's not easy, but when you have this common culture, and for example, we have 3 values that are connecting us, it is giving us some kind of a guidance, and it is definitely our North Star. So let's go on. You have a professional background in marketing, in branding, and partnerships, with a special focus, of course, on sport. And maybe this is too personal, but I'm really curious to know, did your dad pass on his love for sailing to you? And when we talk about, for example, power of influence?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Don't worry. It's not too personal. I mean, for sure. And as a New Zealander, I think there's a natural love of sailing. Everyone in New Zealand is pretty close to the water, regardless of where you live. But for sure, I think he passed on the passion of sailing. And I think more than anything, the passion of competing. He is literally the most competitive person I've ever met. He hates losing more than anyone I've ever met, and I think he's really passed that on to me and my sisters as well. I mean, all 3 of us have been involved or work in sport, and I think sport has always been a part of my life. So I'm very pleased that he put that upon me as well, because I think sport is such an amazing thing. It's said a lot. Sport has the ability to transform, and it teaches you a lot of life skills. So for that, I'm so appreciative that I was able to have him as an influence, getting me into sport. And then I guess last but not least, really the love of the America's Cup. I was saying earlier that the America's Cup is such a unique thing, and those who have lived it and really, for lack of a better word, been in the belly of the beast, it is something truly magical. And so to have seen it from the perspective I have, I really, from a young age, was able to understand what the America's Cup is, what it symbolizes, and how it can change people's lives. So I'm very much obsessed with the America's Cup now, just like him, for better or for worse. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but no, I mean, he's passed on a lot to me, and I think the love of competing, of sport, and of the America's Cup is definitely prevalent in me, as it is with him.
I'm sure it is a good thing, and we are sending our regards to Grant. And when you say you're a competitive person, from your personal experience, what is your number 1 recipe for success?
I think my number 1 recipe from success, and it's something that it's a constant battle to develop, is the ability to visualize and hold in your head a specific goal. I think too often we set lofty goals and things we want to do, but we don't have a specific vision of how we will achieve them or the moment we achieve them. So for me, setting a goal that I can run over back and forth in my head, myself achieving that goal, I think for me, that's what's worked the best so far, and I think it's a good strategy.
Well, thank you so much for the insightful conversation and really valuable tips you shared with us. We truly appreciate your time, and of course, we wish you all the best in the future races and everything that lies ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Wow, thank you, Mac and Nicolina, for that inspiring conversation. And it was so interesting, I mean, picking out some points there about hearing Mac on the importance of preparation and teamwork and the greater good, especially when we think about our own transformation.
I agree. And there is a special magic between UniCredit and America's Cup. Now, for more on America's Cup, it's time for this episode's Culture Corner. This is a special edition of the Culture Corner where we are going to hear from UniCredit's branch managers who had the amazing opportunity to attend the America's Cup in Barcelona in person. Let's meet each of them and learn what makes them star performers and what they had to say about our partnership with the Cup.
My name is Ivana Petrovic. I am a branch manager in 2 branches in UniCredit Bank in Mostar, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Well, I was selected as a star performer from my CEO to be a part of a culture day in Munich in 2024. Based on the fact that I truly work by our group's values that are integrity, ownership and caring. And that's what brought me here in Barcelona today. I got 2 tickets for today's America's Cup. I really try to live our group's values because they are essence of everything of our work. We can't work with our clients without them, and that's most important in our work. This is a good thing for UniCredit Group to be involved with America's Cup because we share similar values that also we employees live every day in our work, share it with our colleagues and our teams and also clients, and then automatically we reflect them in our lives.
I'm Christian Steiner from UniCredit Hungary. I came from nearby Budapest from Szentendre in a small branch. I worked there with 5 colleagues for more than 5 years. In the end of May, I get a call from our network sales head that they have chosen me to represent UniCredit Hungary in the group culture event. So it was the beginning to be here, and it was a big honor for me. I was following the races in the television in Hungary because it's the first time that in our country there's a live streaming from America's Cup. And I think our cultural values are strongly the same like America's Cup. So I think it's a truly authentic cooperation between us. We can learn a lot from the teams because I think sailing, the teams needs almost the same teamwork like we need in our banking industry in our teams. So I think it's a long-term responsible cooperation between us.
My name is Nițalina. I came from Romania, from a very small branch, Târgoviște Caraiman branch, with 5 members. I felt very excited and very grateful to be part of this experience. The main value that I feel in Youth America's Cup and UniCredit are ambition and caring. The thing that can learn from America's Cup is individually we are a little drop, but together we are an ocean. A functionally and healthy team is the key to success.
My name is Philipp Lehner and I come from Austria. I'm the branch manager of 3 branches in Linz and I have 20 employees to manage there. And I'm responsible for over 30,000 customers. I was invited to Munich to the headquarters of Hypo Vereinsbank for Culture Day. And yeah, as a surprise, I was invited to the America's Cup here in Barcelona. It fills me with pride and shows me what it can mean to work in such a big company. Barcelona is one of my favorite places, and I never thought that UniCredit would make it possible to see the America's Cup live here in Barcelona. I'm very happy and grateful for that. Sailing is a team sport. Banking is about people and teams, and only a strong team can win. You have to stick together and be able to rely on each other. That's just as important in sailing as it is in banking and leading teams. You can't control the wind, but you can set the sails differently. And every team member has to put the strong performance in the day.
Wow, thank you to all our star performers. So great to hear from them, and so great to hear from them directly from Barcelona as well, where of course this year's event took place. Now, finally, before we go, here's one more piece of UniCredit news to get excited about. Our second ESG Day will take place on Thursday, the 14th of November at our Milan headquarters, as well as being streamed externally via LinkedIn and our dedicated webpage. The event will also be translated into 4 different languages, which represents a first for our group. Now, for this next edition, we're putting the focus firmly on the need for greater progress in tackling some of the toughest issues facing our society today. These range from climate change and technology to how we can go about solving sustainability trade-offs. The event, held in tandem with COP29, has been put together with our clients front of mind and will serve as a forum to review and assess all of the solutions available to us. It promises to be fantastic, and we really hope that you can join us for that.
Thank you, Matt. Really looking forward to our second ESG Day in November. Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you found some inspiration and took away something new.
Yes, do tune in next time for more must-hear insights and conversations about life at UniCredit on another
Conversations Unlocked.